Hey, are you guys ready to pick up your go bag and head out the door? Do you have everything you need to survive outside of your home? Well, hang in close, guys, because we're going to talk about bug out in a whole different way. You liked that opening, didn't you? That opening was pretty cool. Yeah. I know. Sometimes I like to play, and if you watch my other channel, you'll probably see a similar opening in it because we're going to talk about Civil War in that channel, and these two things kind of go hand in hand. So I thought maybe I would do similar things on both channels. If you're not watching my other channel, you're missing out. But I'm not going to tell you where to find it because I'm going to let you seek it out. So listen, guys, I was looking on Facebook the other day, and because of the things I search all the time, a lot of survival things come up. A lot of things show up on my Facebook in the advertisements that lead to camping and survival and all that. I'm good with that, but well, this thing came up, and I got to thinking, and I do not want to disparage these people at whatever company this is, Stealth something or another. I don't know. I'm sure they're a good company, and I got to say that a lot of things that they have to offer here aren't wholly bad. It's probably a great value kit, assuming it's the whole kit. I don't even know for sure, but check it out. So I was looking at this, and I started looking it over and thinking, man, this is a no-go, this is a go, but this is a no-go, and I don't like this, and why would you ever do this? So I thought, hey, you know what, maybe I should do a video, my own presentation on a bug out. Now, I know it's been played. Everybody on the internet has done a bug out bag. So I'm going to try and do this with my own little twist, if you know what I mean. So first we're going to start with this this sales pitch, this bug out kit. It's all-in-one kit that you can buy and be ready for the apocalypse. We're going to look that over real quick, and then we're going to get into the real discussion of what I think we need and what you might think you need for a bug out. So let's go ahead and get started, right? Now, starting up here in this picture, these little things up here, these little tactical pens or whatever they call them, they're for, I don't know, breaking windows or whatever. Look, they're cool and all, and I would probably want one in my car if I wanted to spend the money. But in terms of bug out, I don't know. I feel like that's a bit much, so I'm going to call those a no-go. Now, this light, it seems kind of big and bulky for something that's going to have batteries, and something that is likely going to run through batteries really, really fast. So if you are talking about camping, where you can carry all the lights and all that you can, well, that's one thing. But if you're talking about straight up bug out, it just feels like this is a waste of weight and space. So let's discount that. We'll call that a no-go. All right, I'm not sure what that is next to it. I don't know if it's some, I just don't know. I have no idea what that is. I'm sure one of you will tell me. But so moving on to this hammer tool, dude, I have exactly the same one, and I use it in my camping gear all the time. Well, I use it, but it's not a necessity. I never say, man, I wish I had that, and man, I'm glad I have that. It's just that if it's there, I'll use it. If it's not, I won't. So, and it's really heavy, and it's really big, and it's really awkward to carry in any kind of situation. So, yeah, let's throw that out too. This flashlight, it's big and bulky, honestly. You don't need a lantern for bug out, dude. Really, yes, you need flashlights. We'll talk about flashlights a little bit. That does need to be in your kit. You do need to have a couple of different options for lighting. Either a really trustworthy flashlight that you can easily replace the batteries. And I'm not talking about these rechargeable crap that you see everywhere. I'm talking about something where you can go get a couple of, AA or D or whatever kind of batteries they sell everywhere, and maybe find some that haven't been used and that are still worth something. Because generally, if we're getting into an apocalypse, batteries are going to be hard to find anyway. So really, flashlights for a bug out, I would stay very small, very light, with very easy to replace batteries. Don't worry about these long range beams and all these, flashing deals and all these cool gimmicks. Just a small pen light for emergencies, for, if you've injured yourself at night and you need to be able to see it to fix it, those kinds of things. Or maybe a little headlight. I have a little tiny cheap headlight that uses one AA battery in my bag, and it's, it doesn't weigh anything. So something like that, yeah, sure, but reserve it for emergencies. Trust me, man. I have been out in the woods of Georgia, up in the mountains, doing some military training, and we never turned on our flashlights unless we absolutely had to. You let your eyes acclimate to the darkness, and it's really, it's better. You can see better when you don't have a flashlight, because everything else kind of washes out when you've lit something. So moving on. The bag. I think we're going to talk a little bit more about bags when we get beyond this, but I think this bag in this situation, for probably the low price that this value kit is, I mean, really, when you're talking about a bug out bag, you're talking about a bag that you are never, ever, ever going to use for anything else. So as far as how long it would last and how durable it is, I mean, that's your call, but me, I'd rather have a super cheap bag, since I'm never going to use it, than to spend a bunch of money and have it just loaded up, sitting and rotting in the, in the bunker here. This what you're looking at, this background video that I'm using, because, well, I didn't shave today and I look kind of rough, so you're going to look at my little bunker. These bags in here, they sit in here most of the time. Now, one of them, the one on the left, I use for camping. But for the most part, the rest of these bags pretty much just live in here, and they're getting full of bugs and all that stuff, and that's normal for a bug out bag, but that's probably why they call it bug out. No, wait. So anyway, that's we'll get into that more. Sunglasses or shooting glasses, yes, probably a good idea. Sunglasses are always a good idea because they don't weigh anything and they don't take up a lot of space. And trust me, there will be days when you're going to need some sunglasses. These gloves, what is it with these stupid fingerless gloves? Come on, what's the point? I mean, if you're going to wear gloves, protect your fingers. I camp enough and I hike enough. Well, I used to. I don't now because I'm in a wheelchair, but I still do enough camping, and I do enough just around the yard, like cutting up wood for my fire pit at my home, that I know I want those fingers protected. Do not get these crappy little fingerless gloves. That is the biggest waste of space and time ever. Now, good gloves are very important, but I went up to Ace Hardware and got some Stanley gloves. I'm going to see if I can find some video or maybe roll in some pictures. They're really old now, and they've been through a lot, and they're kind of torn up. But I've had these things for about 8 years, and I got them for about $4. And for bug out kit, a set of cheap garden gloves or $4 gloves from Walmart or Ace or whatever hardware store or whatever, something like that is really all you need. You don't need to put these fancy little hard knuckle deals in there. The only reason that you would ever need these ridiculous hard knuckles is if you are, well, me. If you're in a wheelchair, trust me, when I go through doorways in a wheelchair, I rack my knuckles every time. It's like my wheelchair just does not, as I cross those thresholds, it'll hit something and twist a little bit, and I'll ram my knuckles right into whatever I'm doing as I'm spinning my wheels. So I wear these full length, full coverage, hard knuckle, but cheap gloves that I got off of, I don't know, Amazon or something. For maybe $15, and they've lasted pretty well, and they've put up with some abuse, but these hard knuckles help for that. Otherwise, they're just not comfortable, and they really make no sense. So, you know, just stay away from that mess. Unless you're in a wheelchair, it's different. But stay away from those hard knuckles. They make no sense. Going back over here to the top, I don't know why we have a camera in this. This is probably not part of the kit. I don't know what that's about. We'll skip on over the kit. You don't need a camera for your bug out kit. And right now, we're just talking about general bug out kit stuff. You know, if you're going to buy this kit, what in this kit are you going to keep? Excuse me. And what are you going to dispose of or put in with other gear, your just general camping or you know, entertainment, you know, recreational gear. A lot of this is more recreational than bug out. So forget the camera. Let's go down to the compass. Yeah, for what you get, it's worth having. I would definitely do the compass. I would definitely have something to write with and write on. That is one of the more important things that most people leave out of their bug out kit, is something to write with and write on, because you'd be amazed how important that is, especially if you know anything about using a lensatic compass and about Dead Reckoning and how to navigate. It's having a way to keep your step counts and you know, write down all your directions and all that. That's really important. The passport, I don't know. I think if we're into a situation where you've got to leave the country, we're probably beyond passports. Just saying. We're gonna go to. I don't even know what this whole little container here is with I don't even know what that stuff is. What's in there? Anybody know? That just seems like a lot of added weight there. It doesn't seem like there could be anything in there. I don't know. Maybe that's a whistle. If that's a whistle in there, then yeah, signaling whistle. They're lightweight. They don't do anything other than, you know, they take up very little space. So yeah, a whistle, it's probably a good idea. But whatever else is in this container, and the container itself, is a lot of overkill. So get rid of all of that. There's not that whole container out the door. The metal bottle, yes and no. I guess I can make sense of it, but I think it's a bit much. I'd stick to just a cheap plastic one, you know, or whatever else you can find that'll do the job. Ideally, you're going to be carrying a canteen anyway, right? Or some sort of water system. So the added bottle is probably not worth it. Now, if that's the intent, is for that to be the, you know, specific water system, sure, whatever, that's fine. So we'll kind of leave that in the gray area, depending on your other system. Speaking of which, we'll go down here to the hydrogen bladder. These bladders are good and bad. The problem with them is that they're, you know, if you're in a bug out situation, they are almost impossible to clean. I have been out in the woods with them for long enough that they've gotten moldy inside, and it doesn't matter what you do in the woods, there's just no getting that mold off. I mean, the water starts to stink and get nasty, and it's just not pleasant. And speaking of not pleasant, these little water bags, I have some of these, I do. I kind of inherited them basically, but yeah, they're cool, but I mean, maybe throw one or two in there. They're really not. There's no value in almost any bug out situation. You should be able to find water somewhere, right? And we're gonna cover water more as we move on. So let's call those a gray area thing. So water and the water container that we're talking about here, those are both gray areas. The bladder, that's a no-go. Just don't. If that's in your bug out bag, get it out. Use it for other things like camping and sports and all that, where you can bring it back home and clean it. There's another little container full of stuff here with a little cheap compass and a little I don't even know what all's in there. Actually, it's kind of hard for me to make it out, but it looks like there's more overkill, like stuff you just don't need. So that whole container, that goes into your not necessary kit. Put that in your camping fun stuff and not in your bug out bag. Get rid of it. So whatever that is above it, I don't know. That looks like some sort of a toolkit with like screwdriver heads or something, but I'm not sure. And I really couldn't find a real description of what came in this kit. And I wasn't going to dig too far, because sometimes these are clickbait. You end up getting, you know, viruses and all that. I don't know. I just avoid that nonsense. The point is, whatever they are, they're useless. Look, you don't bring tools that you don't need. If you're gonna bring tools, let's say you've brought a gun or whatever like that, you bring the tools that you would use for your gun. Not tools that just, just in case you need to use some strange hex head or multiple different levels of Phillips. No, you only bring the tools that are necessary, absolutely necessary for the equipment that you have on board. Nothing else. No sense. Dude, the end of the world comes, there will still be hardware stores. There will still be people. There will still be things left behind. If you need something, get it. You don't need to bring it with you. And again, we're going to cover all that as we get into it. So this is going to be basically a full feature length video here. It's going to take some time. So I hope you guys have set aside a little time to watch this video, because we're going to get into it. So moving on. I think this is another lantern. I think it's an LED lantern or a flashlight. It is. It's a flashlight with the lantern in the handle. That's pretty neat. Awesome for camping. Once again, this is a rechargeable one that it's basically going to be disposable. If you are bugging out and, it's the end of the world, you're going to just end up throwing this away. So I'm a believer that you don't carry anything that you have to throw away. Because you're adding weight that you're going to dispose of as you go. I say this. Now, if your theory is, okay, I'm going to run off into the woods, I'm going to need a flashlight to get to my location, and by then I won't need it anymore because I will be settled. Okay, well, there you go. You can dispose of your flashlight there, whatever. But rechargeable stuff, bad idea. So I don't know what's in this kit here. I'm going to assume it's a medical kit, and if that is the case, then assuming everything in it makes sense, which is a whole different video. We're going to do another video on a bug out medical kit. But assuming this makes sense, we are going to say, yeah, sure, bring the medical kit for sure. The camouflage tape above it? No. No, man. Leave that crap at home. That has no purpose. None. You're not going to ever use that. Sorry if my microphone's bumping around a little bit. I'm moving a little bit as we go here. So moving on, the little bracelet, the survival rope bracelet thing that everybody loves, they are absolute garbage. And if you're bugging out, that's going to get uncomfortable. It's going to hold dirt, it's going to get sweaty, it's going to get moldy, it's going to get nasty. It is useless. Now, if you're hanging it off your bag and you're thinking, well, I might need just that little extra rope or whatever crappy, cheap gimmick is attached to it to make the bracelet, all right, fine, man. If it's in your ballpark, if you want to carry that little bit of extra weight for no reason or some potential reason that's not likely to happen, sure, why not? So we're not going to... I'll leave that up to you. I think what I'm looking here below that is, I don't know, maybe a net, or is it a poncho? Okay, so maybe a net and a poncho is a good idea, especially if you live somewhere like Florida, where bugs are insane and it rains every day. Yeah, nets and ponchos are really good ideas. And if you're not carrying any kind of shelter, which we're going to cover, then you definitely want some kind of net, some kind of bug protection. Keep the mosquitoes and spiders and no-see-ums and all that off of you. Because, God, that sucks, man. It sucks getting all those bugs on you. So, moving on. I don't know what these two things are. I just don't know. I think they're those little, like, bottle holder, things that snatch onto your, whatever they are. Just get rid of them. They're wasted weight. Binoculars. Okay, now you could argue for binoculars, but these big boys are not worth it. There are so many cheap little tiny ones out there. And monoculars, things, if you can condense that size down and get into a reasonable sized optic, a magnified optic, I totally understand the idea of having magnified optics. Now I'm going to argue that in a bug out situation, you're probably not going to need them, but I'm basing this on the fact that I live in the swamps of Florida where you really can't see more than 100 yards no matter what kind of optics you have. Because, the trees get so dense that there's just nothing to see. So, yeah, probably not. And look, if you are bringing your rifle and it does have an optic on it, then don't double up. There's no sense in carrying binoculars if you have, 4, 8, 10, 12, 18 magnification scope on your rifle. There's your magnified optics. And if anybody in the group, if you have a group, is carrying such an optic, then there you go. You don't need to carry these. So again, we're going to kind of cover that stuff in the whole coming part of this, but For the moment, let's go with probably not on the optics. Don't know what this is right above it. I really don't know. These things here look like chargers, solar chargers for your batteries and all that. Okay, so if you want to believe that you're going to solar charge all of your electronics, I think it's really going to depend on the situation. And I think almost any realistic bug out situation, you're not going to do that. There's not going to be a need. Again, we're going to cover some of that as we move along, because we're going to actually get into questions that you have to answer before you build that bug out kit. Right now, I'm just kind of picking apart the one they're selling. I mean, again, if I had the money, I'd probably buy this, because 2/3 of what's in here I would love to have in my bug out kit. And the rest I would love to have in my camping gear, just because I've got a bunch of kids and we like to camp and this is cool stuff to have. So don't think I'm poo-pooing the existence of these things. I'm just saying that these are things you'd want to drop out of that kit. So the chargers, yeah, for camping, awesome. For bug out, I don't have any faith in them lasting and surviving and being worth the wait, because most of what you would have in terms of electronics won't be useful anyway. So moving on, a multi-tool, a small multi-tool, yes, lightweight, easy to carry multi-tool. Definitely carry something like that with you, because God knows you're going to need a pair of pliers for something at some time. Sometimes it helps you protect those gloves. These particular sleeping bags, I've got exactly the same one, same color and everything, and I don't get in it, I put it on. It is literally, I'm 6'1", 215 pounds. I'm a big boy. And, this is an adult-sized sleeping bag that I have to, kind of butter myself up and jump into it, because it's really tight on me. It's really not comfortable. Now I can unzip it and turn it into a blanket, and that's the way I use it. But in terms of sleeping bag, it's kind of crappy. So again, it's kind of a gray area. If you have a better option, go with it. But it's almost so bad that you're just as well off sleeping in your clothes and not using it, because it's not good for a lot. And again, I live in Florida. We don't get a lot of cold nights here. I mean, we're in the middle of winter here, and it's, well, not winter, but we're late into fall here. It's November, and it's all of 70 out here. And this is the coolest day we've had in a year, almost. Well, we haven't had a day this cool since April. So, moving on. Rope. Yes, absolutely, rope. Now, the question over whether you want to use camouflage rope or bright colored rope is really going to come down to what kind of a bugging out you're going to do. I tell you, when I'm pitching tents and stuff like that, I like to use bright rope. Why? Because I get tired of everybody tripping over it, pulling the tent down. It's annoying. It's like the reason I don't bring a gun when I camp is because people kick my tent down all the time, and I want to shoot them. But I don't, because I'm a nice guy and I love people. So anyway, when I'm camping, yeah, I like to use a bright colored rope. But if I'm worried about my life, if I'm hiding in the woods, then I want that rope to be camouflaged so that I can create traps, so that I can hang things without them being really visible through the woods, so they don't reflect light and draw attention. So I think overall you're better off having the dark than the bright colors in a bug out bag. Now, this spoon, dude, I hate these spoons. They're such a cool idea, and they are so useless. I loathe these spoons. Look, just get a long-handled titanium one, or just, what I usually do is I just carry plastic ones that I got at the grocery store or at Burger King or whatever. Go get some plastic, forks and knives and sporks and all that, and throw it in there, because you can get 3 or 4 of those of each and throw them in the bottom of your bag, and they don't weigh anything. I mean, if they have any weight, it's not measurable. And they're longer handles. What I'm getting to here is, because of the Canteen Cook system that I use, and any that I've ever seen, this short little spoon, it's hard to work with. It's really hard to get into little containers and stuff like that. Man, I'll take, a spoon, a plastic spoon, all day, every day over this turd right here. So just so you know, whatever this funky gadget here is, That's a lure, is what it is. It's a lure. Its purpose is to lure you into buying it, and it's not a useful tool. And all these other little tiny metal thises and that's and thingamabobs and whatchamacallums, they're all crap. They're about useless. You don't need all that. Now, I do say you need to be able to get into a can of food, so bring some sort of can opener. I have some old can openers that I'm actually going to do a whole video on. I'm going to do food canister opening and cooking and all that with, because there's a lot of things you can do with that. And like I said, we're going to get into that on another day. You know why I do this? To make you come back and keep watching my channel, because I'm that guy. So let's talk about bug out. Is my microphone still banging around here? My little lapel clip broke off of it, so now it's hanging and it's just kind of hitting things. So let's talk about this. Let's talk about bugging out. There are only two reasons to bug out, right? Because I've said it before, and anybody with any intellect, anybody with any experience says that if you can possibly stay home, stay home. You have everything you want and need at your home. So stay home. Do not bug out. Now, that said, there is one reason to bug out, and that is because your home becomes insurmountably hostile to your survival. Not just uncomfortable and not just risky. I am talking hostile to your survival. If being in your home is a threat to your life that you cannot overcome, then yes, bug out, right? So under that, there are two categories of reasons to bug out, right? So the house is insurmountable. Why? Number one, and most likely, natural disasters. Yes, if you're in California and your neighborhood's on fire, bug out. If you're in Florida and a sinkhole is opening up and swallowing the other end of your house, yeah, bug out. We've already had a man, get swallowed up in a sinkhole here, and I'm not trying to laugh, but it's just so absurd that it just doesn't sound possible. So the point is, yeah, in a natural disaster situation, if it's bad enough, if you're flooding, if you're on fire, you get it. Do I have to explain this? You're not stupid. I don't think you're stupid. So the other is civil insurrection, but there's a caveat. There's a caveat to that. When I say civil insurrection, what do I mean? I'm not talking about civil war, and I'm not talking about riots in the streets, because in those cases, chances are you're going to want to stay home. You're going to want to keep your home and protect it. Because again, you have all the comforts there. You have your own bed. You have, some amount of pest control to keep the bugs off of you. You have, food storage. You have all the things you need. Clean underwear. That's important. So, in the case of civil insurrection, the only reasons I can think of, or the only real reason, is, again, if your living there becomes hostile to your existence. That would mean, let's look at World War II. If you were a Jew, and you lived in a very predominantly German neighborhood, and, I don't know, they were coming to your house to put you on a train and send you to a place where they're going to gas you to death, that's probably a good reason to bug out. Head for the woods, man. Hide. So, and that brings up the next thing, okay? So in the case of natural disaster, when you bug out, your purpose of bugging out is to be found, to be protected, to join society in a place where it's safe to do so, right? So how will you pack your bag will depend on your need to bug out. So most likely, if you're bugging out so that you can go to someone else's place, somewhere else, and, stay wherever you can. In those cases, you almost never end up, sleeping in the woods. You almost never end up completely screwed. So you have to start thinking, well, what am I going to pack? I'm going to pack the things that, when I go to somebody else's house, I don't want to impose on them. So yeah, I'm going to bring my own sleeping stuff. I'm going to bring, a lot of comfort items that I would need, stuff like that. But I don't need a tent, I don't necessarily need bug spray and stuff like that. I don't need camping knives and all kinds of, tactical gear and all that stuff. You know what I'm saying? These aren't things you're going to need if you're just bugging out to another hotel or to another neighborhood, to a friend's house, to whatever else, just to get away from whatever natural disaster is destroying your home, whatever has become hostile to your home. Now, if you're, a Jew in World War II and whatever's coming, like if whoever you are has become a problem to all of your neighbors and they are coming to get you specifically, and you need to get out, now you do need to be thinking about survival. You need to be thinking about hiding. So while natural disasters, the goal is to be found and to be seen and to rejoin society, if you're bugging out for self-defense purposes, you're going to want to hide. And all of that's going to have to play into your systems. Whatever system you're building for bug out. Now, do you want to build both systems? Hey man, it might be fun. Let's be realistic. The chances of you becoming specifically a target to where, you're going to have to leave your home, well, chances are pretty slim. Now, you might live in a kind of neighborhood, let's say you're a conservative and you live in an uppity liberal neighborhood and the whole, gun grab happens and they're going to come after everybody with guns. Maybe this is when it's time for you to grab your guns and grab your gear and get out of this hostile neighborhood, because all of your neighbors are going to be pointing at your doorstep when the police come, right? That's something to consider. But again, if the chances of all of these things happening are so slim that it may not be worth the value for you to build a bug out kit for that purpose. But you know what? There's always a zombie apocalypse. Okay, maybe not. But let's say there is. Let's just for fun, let's go down all of this. Let's say this thing is going to occur. Not necessarily a zombie apocalypse or alien invasion or whatever kind of completely obscure thing that could happen. But let's say you do become a target. You do need to get out into the woods. Let's build our bug out kit so that it can do both. Knowing that in one situation, it might be too much. In another situation, it might be too little. So you want to try and build it somewhere in between the two things, right? So the first thing you have to think about is how you're going to dress. If you are dressed all tactical, like Army Joe, if you're dressed like this, if you're the kind of guy who, like like me, LARPs around your house in full battle rattle, camoed from head to toe, and you just like looking badass or whatever, if you think that looks badass, if you go out into public dressed like that, in this kind of a scenario, like an end of the world scenario, you are going to become a victim. You are not going to be making friends. People are going to see you and feel threatened and take action against you because they're threatened by you. Now, excuse me, I still have this cough. Now, if you go out there dressed like a victim, people will assume that you've already been victimized, that you have nothing to take, that you are not a threat. And they probably won't even pay much attention unless they intend to help you, People don't victimize victims. People victimize people who have not been victimized. So dress like a victim. Get yourself on some, basic, everyday, normal clothes. Make it look like you were just trying to escape a house fire. Don't make it look like you're going out there with every intent to, declare war on whatever it is that's pushed you out of your home. So, when you've done that, now you have to start thinking, okay, well, how am I getting to my bug out point? I'm assuming you've figured out where you're going to go. Because, well, if you haven't figured that out by now, then this whole conversation is moot. Not mute, moot.